What if the thing keeping you from launching your business isn't strategy, it's not capital, but rather it's the pursuit of perfection? Well, if that sounds like you, you're in luck. Today, I have the one and only Pho Alexander. Pho is a business coach, she's a podcaster, she's a 3-time author. She's been featured in BuzzFeed magazine, in Parents magazine, in the US News and World Report, but most importantly, she is here to talk to us today about how we can trade in perfection for progress. Let's dive in.
Thank you for having me again. I love when people invite me back. That means I did a good job the
You
first
did.
time.
Where you're an OG, you have influenced my life in so many positive ways, and so it's an honor to have you on.
Thank you so much.
Well, so Fo, as you know, we're talking about perfectionism today, but I just want to level set because sometimes people hear that term and they might have different thoughts or stories about somebody else, not them, right? Because they're not perfectionists, but
Right.
somebody else. From some- But how would you describe perfectionism?
So I believe perfectionism is this pursuit of no mistakes, right? Being void of mistakes, not showing your humanity when it comes to how you deal with other people or present yourself. So I think that's the unfortunate trap of a lot of people that they feel like I have to be void of mistakes. My life has to look like there are no issues or no problems or no issues. And so that is obviously a false narrative. There is no one who is perfect but Jesus, but that's what the standard people try to live up to, whether it's because of what we've seen on social media or maybe our upbringing and childhood. So those are all the things that I would define perfectionism as, trying to create this persona of everything being correct, there being no mistakes.
Mhm. One thing that came to my mind as you were talking is depending upon the culture environment that we were in for our work, that also can feed into it, right? If you had a supervisor or a team where there was not a fail culture, do you have any thoughts about how like the culture that we were in before going into entrepreneurship can can affect us once we make that switch?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely as Black women, that is something that probably I would say is one of the hardest things, because you live by this mantra of you have to not make a mistake because your success impacts the success of people behind you. And so there's this weight that we carry to be perfect. You have to show up perfectly. You can't make a mistake because there can't be an indictment on you, because it's not only going to impact your ability to advance, but it's going to impact someone else. So I think that travels into entrepreneurship, thinking that everything has to be perfect because somebody's watching, or thinking everything has to be perfect because if you don't get it right, then the person behind you won't have an opportunity. And that's the unfortunate weight, silent, invisible weight that we carry that we shouldn't have to, and we just shouldn't. And so, yeah, I see a lot of corporate conditioning, is what I would call it, a lot of corporate conditioning that transitions into entrepreneurship that often hinders people from making strides or having the success that they could have if they just let go of some of the mindsets that are prevalent in the workplace.
Wow. So as you were talking, like I felt the weight come off so big. I was like, ooh, let me just breathe a little deeper.
Yeah, it's fun. It's absolutely fun.
Well, so you, as I said earlier, you're an OG. You were my first business coach. I absolutely love you and very grateful for you to be on the show. So as a seasoned entrepreneur, you've been 12 plus years in the game. Have you ever noticed perfectionism creeping into your own life or earlier in your journey?
Yeah, for sure. So I speak because I was that person, right? So in corporate, where you had to be perfect and you had to perform well, and there was a somewhat of the keeping up of appearances. I definitely had that seep into my business, where everything has to be perfect. The email has to be perfect. The graphic has to be perfect. And what that does is it causes you to slow down, and you in pursuit of perfection, you lose progress. And so you're trying to make sure everything appears to be perfect, and that's a stress that you don't have to carry. So I don't know, I don't remember exactly when maybe the scales fell off my eyes, but I'm just like, I just got to get this done. It's probably when I had kids, and I'm like, I don't have time. Like, I have to do this in one take. Whatever it is going to get out there. And so I definitely struggle with that mindset of trying to make things perfect, trying to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. My email has to be, email system has to be perfect. My social media post has to be perfect. My offer has to, like, all these things, and that's just not the reality when it comes to entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship really is just an experiment. And by nature of it being an experiment, everything is trial and error. Nothing is going to be perfect. You just get more data to perfect as you go, but nothing is going to be perfect. So I definitely had to undo that mindset of you got to get everything right. Everything has to be buttoned up. And the moment that it clicked, like, and I had this more relaxed, state, I could just do things and I could actually enjoy the work that I was doing. Because when we leave corporate with a mindset of corporate, we create our own corporate structure that we were trying to get away from to begin with. And so, yeah, I don't know when that shift happened for me, but it definitely was a relief to say, you know what, just show up as yourself, show your imperfections. People relate to those imperfections and kind of build from there. Be excellent, but you don't have to be perfect.
I love that. One of the things that I've really been unlearning over the last few months and stepping into full-time entrepreneurship has really been that I am the owner of my time. And so for me, coming from an academic environment where you worked from sun up to sundown and transitioning into this environment, it was like, okay, go, go, go. When they're like,
Yeah.
go, 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 like you have to like get this done. And so I would spend extra time on, social media posts. And again, yes, you want things to be excellent, but it was so much. It was almost like a proving to myself that, like, I made the right decision. I can, stand up, like, as an entrepreneur full time, and it's just been this season of unlearning. I've really had to have deep conversations with myself and really process with others in different ways too. So I guess another way that I've seen perfectionism come forth is, yes, in the quality and the things that you're doing, but also in how you're managing yourself, how you're managing your day, like the expectations that you put on yourself that nobody else is thinking about, right? They're doing their own life, they're doing their own things, but feeling like you have to stand up to like some imaginary line or something.
Yeah, no, that's so normal. I actually did a podcast episode, like I recorded it today, talking about comparison. There's this invisible comparison, and we hold ourselves to a standard of someone else that we don't know. We don't know their life, we don't know their background, we don't know their experiences. And so we're holding ourselves to an invisible standard that we have no context to, right? And so I'm so glad you realized that like this is my own race to run. And unfortunately, that's the downfall of social media, especially for those who are new to entrepreneurship. You are comparing your day one, your year one to someone's year 10, and how much you produce and how the quality of the things that you produce, instead of looking at it as your own race and growing and developing as you would with anything else. So I'm so glad you came to that real realization, but that's really what it is. It's this silent comparison that we have of other people that unfortunately it stems from social media.
We don't know them and they don't know us though. Like they're not watching our
They
social
aren't. They don't
media.
care. They don't care. And they have a team. I always talk about that too. So yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you. Can you talk about that just a little bit more? Like, what does that think about the solopreneur that might be watching, or if you just want to coach me, that's fine. But like, just when you're talking about a team, like just some like task that like a team might do to help them achieve more of an output, just really briefly, and then we'll go on.
Yeah, so that could be someone, it depends on how expansive your team is. So like for instance, for me, it used to be where I will record stuff and I would have someone else posting and scheduling. I have a podcast editor. So there's someone who's actually, I don't have to worry about taking out imperfections. Like someone is doing that. So you have people handling things and polishing things that someone who does not have a team may not have the time or capacity or even skill set to even do. So yeah, the whole comparison, like you comparing your iPhone video to somebody who has a professional videographer recording them and taking the content and editing it. And so there's just this comparison when someone literally has a team of professionals supporting them. So yeah, you can't compare your small beginnings to someone who's much more established. And those are the some of the things that people are doing behind the scenes. They have the editors, they have the content writers. A lot of times they may not even be coming up with their own content ideas. They have producers who are helping them come up with the content ideas and doing those things that you're having to do on your own. And you're thinking that is a level playing field that you're comparing yourself to, and you're really not. Even when it comes to like, I know we like to look at vanity metrics with follower counts and all that stuff. For me, for a fact, I run ads. So it's going to take me a much shorter time than it would take someone who's probably doing or just simply organic to build an audience. I know how to turn that switch on to be able to do that. And so you may not be doing that. And so it's just not equal playing fields when it comes to comparison. So definitely avoid doing that because you do not know what's going on behind the scenes and who they have helping them or the resources that they have to help them. I'll talk a little bit about this as well, thinking about resources, not just people, but financially. I know that there was this one particular coach and she likes to share the behind the scenes of her business, which is great, but she also shares how much financially she puts into the production that she does. So she, posts like 12 reels a day and multiple videos a week. And then she has this huge audience that's growing, but she will tell you, I spent $50,000 in ads this month or $60,000. So there's some things happening behind the scenes that you can't measure apples to apples. It's not a level playing field. So this is why it's so important that as you are building to stay in your own lane, put your blinders on, build at your own pace such that you're not comparing yourself to something that's literally not possible or feasible for you to actually do.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope that the weight is lift off your shoulders too. That you're like, okay.
Yeah,
So,
don't do it.
so I know that you coach busy moms and those that really have to juggle a lot, right? Juggle home responsibilities, juggle building a business. What's the most common perfectionist story or excuse or just thought that was shared? And how have you worked to change that limiting belief with busy
Yeah.
mom?
So I share this hoping that my client doesn't watch it. But I had a particular client, we were working through doing some video content for her funnel. And I remember we came up with a plan, like this is what you need to record, this is the script, go ahead and record it. And I'm like, all you gotta do is, record it on your phone, computer, whatever. She's like, okay, I think I'm gonna book a studio to record this, a videographer and everything. And that was probably the height of perfectionism, because I was just like, "No, like, just record it on your phone," and, like, do is more about progress than perfection here, and it just really, like, I don't know if she ever recorded that particular video, but it was just a mindset of like, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. Like anyone who sees me, if people see me, it has to be perfect. And I'm just like, no, it needs to be progress over perfection. So that's one of the things I do. I do work with my clients on is showing like, hey, it's not about perfection. It's about the progress that you're making. And you can perfect along the way. If you can get the video out there, the content out there, what the offer out there and start making money, then you can hire someone else who can help you perfect it and improve the quality and all those things. But you have to get started, and perfection is literally hindering a lot of people from even getting started. We like to call it procrastination, but it really is perfection. It's your way of putting a new name to perfectionism, and you really have to focus on the progress and not just being perfect. So that was one of like the a very it was very a stark conversation that like, "What do you mean rent a studio to have a no, just do it." And that's me. I'm a very much execution. And so I don't have time for everything to be a perfect scenario. It just needs to get done and we perfect along the way.
That's one of the things I love about you, that you're quick to act. I am somewhere between you and that client, trying to be more like but you are very quick to act, and I love that. That's something that I've actually been talking about with some of my clients, like in a beta program that I've been running, really just those that are like super new to entrepreneurship and really just learning as you go. One of the things I told them that I've personally learned is your business now is not going to be the same business in 3 to 4, 5 years, but you don't know how it'll change until you act. Like you have a concept, you have an idea, you might actually reach out to folks and start to get an understanding about what their needs and desires are, but it's not until you start to act, whether producing the videos like you're saying or actually doing one-on-ones with clients, that you actually realize, "Oh, I do like doing this," or, "No, I can't see myself doing this for the next 10 years." And so that's something that I just wanna underscore, like, you learn by doing. I've learned
Right.
so much last 4 years.
Right, right. You'll never learn the sport. I think it was I can't remember what it was. Like you're not going to learn how to swim by watching a video. You're not going to learn how to ride a bike by watching. You're going to learn by getting in the pool or getting on the bike and actually doing the thing. And guess what? You're probably going to fall. And guess what? You're probably going to, drink some water. Like, those things are going to happen. It's going to be imperfect. And so you just have to learn along the way. And so again, I like to blame social media, but that is one of the downfalls of social media, is because everyone shows the highlight reel. They show the perfectly curated, they show the perfectly edited, they show the perfection, which does not exist. And I blame social media, but we've seen this long before social media and magazines. And this is what had women critiquing their bodies. And we find out, oh, it's Photoshop. We just didn't know as a consumer that Photoshop exists. But yeah, and these are all things that we constantly struggle with. But when it comes to business, like, you have to just move forward.
Well, so as someone who has gotten in the game, right? As someone who has just been able to launch and to do now, again, 12 years out the gate, take us back to early faux and tell us about a time where you didn't have all the boxes checked before a launch, whether that was a program or, an ad or anything like that. What did you do to shift your perspective?
I never have all the boxes checked. Let's be clear. I never, I, ne- I never have, and that's a
Wait, can
blessing.
you say
And
that
I don't.
again, please? Can you just say
No,
that
no, I
one
didn't have
more
all
time?
the boxes checked. Why? Like, just go. And I don't want to say it's a blessing and a curse. It's definitely a blessing, but it's something that I sometimes have to temper because I'm such an executor. Like, I don't have time to wait. I'll figure it. I'm the person that will jump out of the plane and figure the rest out along the way. And to some extent, I do plan things out, but just enough to get it going. So, for example, if I'm launching something, if I have a program I'm launching, I'm not going to build out the whole program before I launch it. I'm going to launch it and see if people buy it. And if they buy it, okay, we'll finish building the plane. We'll take the art orders before we actually, build something. So none of the boxes are never all checked. I am literally, I have a theory. I want to test it out. And as I get data, then I can develop it and make tweaks and all. But the boxes are never all checked. Like, and as you go over the years, you have more information that you can always launch from. You have more information that you can do things from. You have more information that you can create an offer from. So it becomes easier. But when I'm first starting something, when I'm figuring some, no, the boxes are not checked. I am figuring what boxes are and like where they need to be as I'm doing it, and I get more information along the way. So hopefully that wasn't a disappointing story, but that's how I do things. I literally jump and I figure it out as I am going down and hope for the best.
No, I love that because it's a reframe, right? One of the things that you said earlier is entrepreneurship is an experiment. And that's something that I have been learning and honestly need to do better at carrying like my researcher hat from my old life, my former
Yeah.
experiences here, that you're really testing a bunch of things, right? Like, so
Yep.
for instance, fam, those of you that have posted something on YouTube or maybe hopefully podcasts like mine and Foes will inspire you, and we'll link her information down below, will inspire you to create content. YouTube has like an A/B, a split feature where you can
Mhm.
test different thumbnails, right? Why? Because not everything that you put out will resonate with every person, but you can kind of test and see maybe which title works better, which picture works better. It's the same thing that Bo was talking about in other aspects. Like, so you have an idea, maybe you put the idea out for a book or you put the idea out for a course and you see if it resonates with people. And that saves you so much time and money, right? Because if no one is interested or very few people are interested enough to at least break even, then maybe that's not something that you do now. Or maybe you talk with more folks and see, why they weren't interested to get a better understanding of how you could refine things. So I love it, Bo. I get it. And that's just so interesting that there is such, for me personally, such a disconnect between like former experience and
Mhm.
like entrepreneurship business now. And so if for nobody else, thank you, Fem.
No, it's a flat out, full out experiment. This is why I don't subscribe to there's only one way to do something. When you talk, there's only one way to market. There's only one. This is the way to. No, it may work for that person, but it may not work for you. So you have to figure out through trial and error, what works for you. You use data, right? And I'm sure you do that in research. You use data to inform your decision, but at the end of the day, it really is, here's my hypothesis. I think this is going to work. I'm going to test it out. Does it work? What are my results? What data do I collect? And how can I then do another iteration? So literally, that's all business is.
I love it. I love it. I'm getting an MBA and they haven't taught me that.
Oh,
So
they won't. Oh, they won't. But they won't. So I work with very highly educated women like yourself, right? Very credentialed, many letters in front and behind your last name. And that's the one thing I'm like, you will never learn this in a college setting. I remember being in engineering, getting my degree, and we were going over like manufacturing processes. That was a class. The thing did not make any sense to me until years later when I actually got a job in manufacturing and there was real world application.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I appreciate y'all MBAs and everything like that, but literally the real world experience is going to teach you something that a textbook case study cannot teach you. You have to go through it. And even if you did learn something about marketing, which I highly doubt, but like the way that marketing is now, like even if you do learn something about marketing, the way that it's evolving, the way that things are changing, it literally it won't even apply. I have a really good friend who has a background in marketing. She's worked with some of the biggest companies that you can think of, and she is just like, it's so different. She runs a business. She was like, corporate marketing and what you learn from a corporate setting is so different from how you market as an entrepreneur and build a personal brand. So yeah, you're not gonna learn that in your MBA program. You're gonna learn from real world experience.
That's absolutely true. I remember one time, I should say one time, one semester, we took an entrepreneurship class. I was like, oh, great, finally. Because, like, yes, I need to know about accounting and stuff like that. But I was like, oh, entrepreneurship, let's learn. And I was talking with the professor and I was like, I've taken some online business coaching programs like Fo's Wonderful. I was like, this does not translate now. And I was like, we could talk about some principles and stuff like that, but this isn't actually going to help me for right now's environment. And so,
Yeah.
yes,
Y'all
absolutely
save your money. Save your money. Hire a business coach, please.
much
Hire
cheaper, much more tailored,
Let me
right?
tell you, I have an MBA program. Like, my program that I teach is called the MBA for a reason, because I'm like, y'all out here spending all this money on an MBA program, and you still don't know how to run a business, and you asking me questions. Here's something that's actually gonna show you how to build a business, especially online, because I doubt if MBA programs are focused on online. I don't
Mm.
know. But, yeah, this is gonna show you what it really was like for someone who's done it. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm coming for all of y'all with these these degrees and stuff. Yeah.
Come for us, come rescue us.
Just save your money.
Well, as a coach and a mom of two little ones, beautiful children, wonderful wife, how do you stay grounded? Like, how do you stay grounded in your day to day, but also so that perfectionism doesn't come into play?
Well, first of all, as a mom, there is no such thing as perfectionism. I lost when it I guess when you're talking about grounded, how do you stay in the mindset that nothing's gonna be perfect? I think that came about when I had kids, and I was holding on to my house has to be perfectly clean all the time. And then you have kids, and they don't care about what your plans are they just wanna play. And so I think having kids really gave me a reality check when it comes to perfectionism. Nothing is going to be perfect. My house is not gonna be perfect at any moment in time. There's always going to be something. And so I think my kids keep me grounded. And they're like, you got plans? No, no. And so you learn how to go with the ebbs and flows of life, and you're able to pivot. And I really truly used to be a person that was very rigid. Like, this is the way. My mom used to always tell me everything is black and white with you. And it's in life really isn't. And I think my kids help me realize, like, you can't be so rigid. Everything's not going to be perfect. We're here to make sure that it's not going to be not going to be perfect and neat and clean. Like, you're going to have to learn how to pivot. And so I think just that reality, the fact that I am, a wife, and when you bring someone else into your life and you're living life with them, you can't be so rigid. You have to learn how to be flexible. Then couple that with kids, like, it really, I want to say, broke me in a good way and made me less rigid and more flexible. And I think that's really what keeps me grounded and not focus on perfectionism. The fact that I have kids means I don't have all day to try to tinker around and make things perfect when it comes to content. I don't have time to, I just don't have the time or capacity because there are much more important things that have to get done. This is why I'm like, just execute.
Mhm.
Progress over perfection. And for me, that used to be a saying, but now it really is reality in that just make progress. You can perfect later. Just get something out there. You can't do anything without having something out there for people to tap into, to for people to actually invest in. So yeah, I think my kids and the fact that I am a wife is what keeps me grounded. My kids especially, they will humble you.
Well, is there a question, or let's put it this way. Let's say that I am a client of yours, whether group coaching, one-on-one, I'm not sure what format you're doing right now. But let's say I'm a client of yours and I'm just having paralysis. Like I'm not like ready to move. Like you've given me the play, like you've given me the different things, but like I can't seem to break out. Is there a question or a or an activity or something that you would do or say to help them move towards action?
So I remember I'm not a very good life coach. Let's be real. I'm not. I'm a business coach, and I literally am trying to bring someone on who could do more of that, like life coaching and really digging deep. But when I have to do it, one of the things that I will often ask is like, what are you afraid of? What's really holding you back, and what are you afraid of? And that literally usually taps into the root of the problem. So I remember I did this with a client and she would not execute. Like she just wouldn't execute. And I'm like, okay, you have this stuff. Like, and when I'm working with my clients, I truly believe in what they have to offer to the world. And so
Mhm.
I'm like, there are people who need you. And like, I'm really serious about helping them, bring that to life. And I remember she was just hesitant. And I asked simply the question, like, what are you afraid of? Like, what is the thing? Like, what is going in the back of your mind? And she was able to articulate, I feel so behind. I feel like, who am I to do this? And it started unraveling all the internal narratives that she had. And then from there, we were able to have a conversation of like, let's reframe your thoughts. And also let's look at reality. These are your thoughts and your emotions, but this is fact and this is truth. Let's go with what's factual. And so, yeah, I would say the one question that you should ask yourself is, what am I afraid of? If I'm not perfect, if someone sees an unpolished version of me, what am I afraid of? What narrative are you afraid that they are going to take that and run with it? Are you afraid, like, what are you afraid of? What narrative is going on in the back of your mind that's causing you to be hesitant? Now, I'm also not a therapist, but that may be also time to pause and say, what in my childhood is making me think this way? Like, was I told as a child that everything has to be perfect? For instance, I can remember when I was younger, I was a very good student, but I remember bringing a test to my dad, and I think I made maybe like call it a 93 on the test. It was still an A. He's like, "What happened to the other 7 points?" Now, my parents weren't very like, "Oh, you got to be perfect," but I can remember that as an adult, that the standard and expectation is you always should be making A's. You should be making a 100 at that. And he was never hard on it, so I never like took it to heart, but I can remember it now. So for someone else, that may have been their reality where your culture, your upbringing is like, you gotta be perfect. There
Mhm.
is no room. And I know that there are certain cultures like that. And so you have to ask yourself, what childhood thing am I rehashing subconsciously? What conditioning am I being limited by subconsciously? And what am I afraid of? So those would be the questions that I would ask to kind of spark that conversation with yourself or even with your coach to figure out what is it that's holding me back, so then you can address those things, whether that's going to therapy or whether that's just realizing it and taking action, which in the case of that particular client, she realized what was going on. We had the conversation, she shared some tears, and then she took action, and then she was able to be successful. So those are the questions that I would ask. Again, not a life coach, not a therapist. See a real therapist if you if you really do need help with that.
I love how actionable that is, and also not a therapist, right? But my background in social sciences does come to play. I do deal a lot with, or have trained a lot and done workshops and research in childhood trauma. And so when you brought that out, I was like, yes, I see the line of thread. And it's true. The environments that we had as a child really shape us in ways that we don't even think about. as an adult.
Mhm.
And sometimes the environments that we have as an adult really continue to either build on what we experienced as a child or
Right.
brings in new trauma, whether that could be workplace trauma or that could be like your home environment right now, right?
Mhm.
I've dealt with clients who, based upon like their current situations, like there has been just fear of launching. And it could even be something like I spoke with my spouse about investing in a program, and I'm like so afraid of like not making the money back that like because we had this longer conversation. So, like, there's different things, like, whether that was, like, a harder situation or not, like, when I say emotional situation or not, like, people, like in the case of the example you gave with your father, I'm sure it wasn't said with any malintent, but
Right, right.
take words, right? We internalize it, right? And it can cause that level of fear. And so I'm just so grateful that you brought that in.
We can also create our own narrative. So to the point where you were saying, like you were talking with a client who was like, I have to make this investment bank. So I remember early on as an entrepreneur, like, it's kind of, if you're not an entrepreneur and you're not in this whole personal development, self development, business development space, it seems wild to spend thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars on your development, like learning, coaching, or whatever. And we just talked about how it's still less than you pay for an MBA. But I remember those early stages of having those conversations with my husband. And here's the thing, I would create narratives in my own head of things that he did not say. So I would be like, he's going to say no. He's not going to want to invest in this. He's not. And these were all narratives, and I actually had ended up having a conversation with him. It was like, I've never said that. I always support you. Like, it just needs to make sense and we can invest in it. And so sometimes we're creating our own narrative
Mhm.
around people's perception of us, what they think, what they may say that's not even true. So it's worth having the conversation, especially when it comes to things like that around, investing and all that. But yeah, I remember those early stages. I was like, I don't know what he's going to say. I mean, I still don't know what he's going to say if I come to him with something, but I just know now that he supports me. And as long as I can show what the benefit of it is going to be, then we can make the investment and it's no urgency or push to be like, okay, you got to make this money back or the family won't eat. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention that as well.
Yeah, thank you. That's so good. That's so good. I love it. So when you look back at your coaching clients, what's the most powerful sign that they've truly traded in perfectionism for progress? Outside of just doing, like how can you tell if there's truly been a mindset shift?
I was gonna say doing doing the work, but I guess doing the work without me having to push them along to do it. And that's a sign to me that they're like, I can do this. I don't need any more pushing or prodding. I am comfortable enough in my own abilities and capabilities, the things that I've learned and been taught, the resources that I've been given to go out and do this. And when I have a client who comes to me and they're like, yeah, I did such this and that, I'm like, okay, you got it now. Like, we're not having to fight over imposter syndrome. We aren't having to fight over your perfectionism, but now you really realize that what you have and what you carry is a benefit to other people, and you have to get it out into the world, whether it's perfect or not. So, yes, it's also still doing, but doing without having to have that nudge and literally now coming with questions on, okay, how can I improve? I did this. How can I improve this? So that's the sign to me that I'm no longer have to ask you, where's this at or have you done this? It's them coming to me. I've done this. Now how can I make it better?
I love that. I love that. I don't know why I had like imagery in my head of like the bird leaving the nest. Like they've
Fly on,
graduated.
fly on.
Well, Bo, thank you so much for talking to us today about perfectionism, being honest and real about your journey and sharing some of your client experiences, but also how we can start talking to ourselves and really understanding about, what's the fear behind perfectionism, like what's really holding you back in order to transition to be able to go forward. Now, I know that you have a conference coming up in
Ugh.
October. Can you tell us really quickly about that conference and maybe one or two things to expect?
Yeah, so I am hosting the Package, Promote, and Profit Live event. Is a 2-day conference or 2-day event where I'm going to teach you how to package your expertise into an offer, a premium offer. You're going to learn how to promote your brand or build your brand, and then also how to profit from your expertise. So you're going to learn how to actually sell. So when you come to the event, if you're an expert, if you're licensed and credentialed, and if you have tenure and experience in that corporate career or wherever, I'm going to show you how to take that knowledge and that expertise and actually create an offer that you can sell, and you're going to learn how to sell that on site as well as build a brand. So we're going to have some amazing speakers outside of myself that will be there, that'll teach you all about time management, also transitioning into entrepreneurship from a corporate career, what that actually looks like financially, what that looks like emotionally. So it's going to be some really great speakers. So if you are a mom who fits that, description, you're licensed, credentialed, tenure, and have experience, then this is definitely the event that you want to be at, because we're going to show you how to make some money from that online so that you can exit your career and become a full-time mom and entrepreneur.
Wonderful. And we'll link that down below, fam, so you can go ahead and register. Well, thank you so much, Fo, for being on the show. It's been a pleasure, and we hope to have you back on soon.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
What an incredible conversation. Thank you so much, Fo, for sharing those insights and personal stories with us. Well, sis, if you have felt stuck in perfectionism, start small. Choose one tip that Fo suggested to do this week. Whether it's asking yourself, what am I actually afraid of? What's causing the fear behind me not wanting to launch this new program, this business, whatever it might be? Or start to become a researcher. Start to put on that research hat and practice to experiment with the business. So throw an idea out there. Throw it out there on social media. So maybe you send a couple of private DMs and say, hey, I'm planning on doing this. What are your thoughts? Or is this something that you'd be interested in? Or going on your social media, maybe it's your Instagram, your stories, and say, I want to plan this event this time, or I'm going to host a Zoom teaching on this topic, and just see what the response is, right? Toss an idea out there and see what people are interested in, what they're not interested in, and get some information, get some data to keep growing. And until next time, keep becoming, keep building, and keep leaning into your personal development. You are your best investment.